Add and subtract polynomials. Welcome to this video. Let's see the first question we're going to solve. What is the sum of the exponent in the expression for x cubed plus 3x squared plus 5? Before we solve this question, let's do a quick review. So, brief lesson. We have here an example of a polynomial, and we want to know what they mean by coefficient, exponent, constant, and variable. That will help us to solve the previous question. So the coefficient, we have 4 and 3. So the coefficient is that number you see on the left side of the variable. Yes, you're going to ask what is the variable. The variable is that x. So the variable is x. So when they use A, B, C, D through Z in math, we call those letters variables. Okay, so they represent unknown values. So the variable here is x, and the coefficient is that number you're going to see on the left side of the variable. So the coefficient is multiplying the variable. So we have a 4 and 3 as coefficient. Exponent is that number you see on top of the variable. So if I go back to the thing, we see that we have a 4x to the second power. So this x, which is the variable, has a power 2 exponent. So exponent is 2. Now you have a 3x here. The x is that variable again, and we don't see any power. But you have to understand that x alone, or a variable alone, has power 1. So there is invisible power there. So it's like you have a 3x raised to power 1. Therefore, we have exponent as 2 and 1 as stated here. Constant is that number without the variable. Constant. So this doesn't change. That's why they call it constant. And the 5 is the constant. Please, you have to understand that every time they ask you a question about coefficient or about constant, always you take the number with its sign. So is it a positive or negative? So the 5 is positive, so you can write it like that 5. Even the coefficients here are positive. We have a positive 4 and a positive 3. To better understand that concept, let's see this example. So we have a negative xy to the second power plus 3xy minus 7. And they ask the same question here, so we have a coefficient. So the coefficient, like I said, is that number we see on the left side of the variable. So it's multiplying the variable. So let's start from the variable. We have here two variables. We have the x and the y, because x and the y are the letters they use in this question. Now, if you see negative x y squared, so you have a negative in front of the x. So that negative means negative 1. So again, there is invisible 1 there. Therefore, we can say that one of the coefficients is what? Negative 1. So every time they ask you for coefficient, you take the number with its sign. Now the other coefficient is 3, because we see 3 in front of, again, a variable. So, and it's a positive 3. Now exponent, which is the power, we see 2 as exponent. Even we don't see a power for x or a power for this y here, you have to understand that there is invisible 1. So it's like you have an x raised to 1 power, y raised to 1 power on this side. Okay, so therefore we can say that the exponents are 2, and 1. Now, constant is that number without the variable, and here is -7. Please, the constant is not a 7. We take the number with its sign, and always you'll see the sign on the left side of the number. So the constant here is -7. I hope this is understood. Now let's solve the question here. So what is the sum of the exponent? So the question asks for sum. In math, when they say sum means addition. So we want to find the sum of the exponent. So first of all, let's list all the exponents, and after that, we're going to find the sum, which is to add them. Okay, so we learned that exponent is that power, so that number on top of the variable. We have an x here as a variable. So let's highlight again this expression. So we have power, which is the sum 3. We also have 2. So if we add the 3 to 2, this is 5. Therefore, the best choice here is B. Let's see this question here. What is the sum of the coefficient? This time they ask for coefficient in the expression. Okay, so this is the expression here. And here we have many variables. We have a as a variable. We have a B as a variable. We have a C. We have a D. Now, coefficient, we say that that's that number on the left side of the variable, and then that number is multiplying the variable. So A is the first variable, right? And we don't see any number in front of that A. But you have to understand that no number there means invisible 1. So we have a 1, it's like we have a 1A minus 3B minus, again, 1C plus 2D. Okay, so the coefficient here are 1, -3. We take it as with the sign, so it's very important. -1, again, -C means -1 multiplied by C, and the +2. So if we list all this, we're gonna have the sum as 1 plus -3 plus -1 plus 2. Okay, now we learned in the previous video, every time we see a bracket or parenthesis separating positive and negative number, this will change it to negative. So we have a 1 minus 3. And again, we have a positive and negative this side. So that will turn it to negative because it's a multiplication between plus and the negative. And we have a -1 plus 2. Okay, you will see that if you combine 1 and the -3, 1 is positive. You combine 1 and the -3, that gives you -2. And that -2 minus 1 is -3. And -3 plus 2 is -1. Therefore, the sum here is -1. And the B is the best choice. Okay, so we can continue with other problems. They say added the following polynomial. So here we have two different problems. We have this to add and also this to add. Okay, so they say add because we have a positive sign between the two polynomials. Okay, so if we take the first polynomial, the first thing to do here is to remove the parentheses. And because it's a positive sign between the two polynomials, so remove the parentheses will not change anything. So we have a 3x plus 4 plus 2x plus 2. Okay, after that, we're going to combine like terms. 3x and the 2x are like terms, and also we have 4 and the 2 as like terms. So adding 3x to 2x, we have 5x. Add 4 to 2, we have positive 6. Therefore, the answer to that question is 5x plus 6. That's it. We cannot go further because 5x and the positive 6 are not like terms to again add. Okay, the other side, we'll do the same thing, which is to remove the parentheses before we combine like terms. So we're going to have negative a to the second power minus a second power minus a minus 4 minus a to the second power minus a again to the second power minus a minus 5. Okay, so like terms, we have a negative a squared, another negative a squared. Okay, we have a negative a squared here again, negative a squared here. Wow, this is amazing question. Yeah. Okay, so we have a negative a squared, negative a squared, negative a squared, negative a squared. How many times? 4 times. 4 times. So everything I highlight here what has that same sign, negative, negative, negative. So I will add the 4a squared, which will be 4a squared. And now I keep the negative sign because all of these have that same sign. So we have negative 4a squared. We continue. Like terms again, we have a negative a and another negative a. So in total, we have negative 2a. We continue. We have negative 4, okay, and negative 5. We combine, both have the same sign. So we add 4 to 5 is 9, and we keep that sign, which is negative. So we're going to have negative 9. Okay, so therefore, we have negative 4a squared minus 2a minus 9. So here, the negative 4 will be a coefficient. Negative 2 also will be a coefficient. The negative 9 is a constant. The 2 is a power, and we have another power which is 1 on top of this a. Okay, invisible a is not the question, but it's just a quick review. We go to another problem. This time is a subtraction, and again we have 2 different questions. We have this and we have this. So let's solve the first one. Because it's a subtraction, please, there is something important here you have to understand. The first part, which is the first polynomial here, if you remove the parentheses, nothing will change. So you have a 7y plus 5y plus 5. Okay, now the negative in front of this parenthesis means distribute, which is to multiply that negative to 2y and the same negative to negative 2. You have to understand that the negative there means negative 1. So it's like you have, again, invisible 1 there. So you have a negative 1, which you're going to multiply by 2y. The same negative 1, we're going to multiply by negative 2. And that will be what? That will be negative 2y plus 2. So remember, negative multiplied by positive is negative. So the 2y inside the parentheses means positive 2y. So the negative 1 multiplied by positive 2y change it to negative 2y. Now the same negative 1 multiplied by negative 2 is positive 2. So negative multiplied by negative is positive. Now, after we remove the parentheses, the next thing to do here is to combine like terms. So we see 7y, 5y, negative 2y as like terms. So if you combine 7y to 5y, this is 12y. And the 12y minus 2y is 10y. So you have 10y. The other like terms are positive 5 and the positive 2. If you combine positive 5 to positive 2, that gives you positive 7. So we have here plus 7. And yes, that's it. We cannot go further. Yes, that's it. So 10y and the 7 are not like terms, so we cannot combine it anymore. Okay, we continue with this side. Again, it's a subtraction. The first part is fine. If you remove the parentheses, nothing change. So we have 7b to the second power plus b minus 8. Now, the negative will change the sign of everything else in the other parentheses. So we'll have a negative 7b to the second power minus b minus 8. Okay, like terms, we have 7b squared negative 7b squared. So 7b squared and the negative 7b squared what? Will cancel out each other. So this 0. So this and this gone. Yeah. So we have opposite coefficient because one coefficient is 7, the other coefficient is negative 7, and the 7 added to negative 7 is 0. We continue. We have b and negative b. Okay. So again, b and the negative b will cancel out because the first b has 1 as a coefficient, the second b is negative 1, and the 1 and negative 1 are opposite. So you do the sum of two opposite numbers, the result is 0. So cancel out. What left? We have negative 8 and another negative 8. In total, we have a negative 16. Therefore, the answer to this question is negative 16. Let's continue. The next question. So we have again sum of polynomials. But here we'll see that in this polynomial, we have more than one variable. We have two variables. We have x and y. Let's see how that works. So the first thing to do here is again to remove the parentheses. Therefore, we're going to have a 3x to the second power minus 4xy plus 5y to the second power plus 2x to the second power minus xy. Okay, like terms, we'll see that 3x to the second power and the 2x to the second power are like terms because they are sharing the same xx with the same power. So if you combine these two, that gives you 5x to the second power. So we keep the x squared and we add 3 to 2. Okay, we continue. We have negative 4xy. We have a negative xy. Now again, if you combine negative 4xy to negative xy, this is negative 5xy. Okay, and the last thing here is positive 5y to the second power. Now we can try to rewrite it, rewrite it with the highest exponent before the lowest exponent. So when we have a 5x squared, we can have a 5 y squared before the negative 5xy. Okay, so if it's a multiple choice question, you'll see that they will have the thing in this form here. But this, what we have here, is not wrong. Yeah, it's not wrong. We just arrange it, with the highest exponent before the lowest exponent. That's why we have this here. Okay, let's continue. Almost done, right? 4, find the sum. So again, we have a sum where we have x and the y as a variable. So we have more than one variable. Same thing, we're going to remove the parentheses. So we have 2x to the second power minus 3xy minus 2y to the second power plus 5x squared minus 3xy. After we remove the parentheses, we'll combine like terms. So we have a 2x squared and the 5x squared are like terms. So we combine these two, that give you 7x squared. Okay, we continue. We have negative 3xy and the negative 3xy. Okay, we combine, this give you negative 6xy. And now you have negative 2y squared left. Now, if we want to arrange it from the highest exponent to the lowest exponent, we'll see that this is same as 7x to the second power minus 2y to the second power minus 6xy. Okay. The next problem. Subtract. So let's see how subtract works when you have different variables. So again, the first thing to do here is to remove the parentheses. So we have a to the second power minus b to the second power. Now, the negative sign here will affect all the signs inside the parentheses. So we're going to have negative a squared minus 3ab. Before it was plus 3ab. Because of the negative sign, this changed to negative 3ab, and the negative 4b squared is now positive 4b squared. Again, let's see like terms. So we have a squared and the negative a squared. This cancel. Yeah, you have to again understand that the coefficient for a squared is 1, and the coefficient for the other a squared is negative 1. So 1 added to negative 1 is 0. So cancel out. We continue. Now we have a negative b squared and a positive b squared. So the coefficient for the first b squared is negative 1. The coefficient for the other b squared is 4. So if we do negative 1 plus 4, this gives you positive 3. So we're going to have 3b squared. Now minus 3ab, and that's it. They are not like terms, so we just leave it like that. Now, the last problem of this video. So subtract. Again, we have two different variables. So the first thing to do is to remove the parentheses. So we have m squared plus 2n squared minus m squared. Okay, the negative sign there, okay, will change the sign in the other parentheses. So we're going to have a positive 8mn plus n to the second power. Like terms, we have m squared and the negative m squared. Again, cancel out. Great. Now we have 2n squared plus n squared. This n squared here is 1n squared. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So we have this and this as 3n squared. Okay, plus 8mn. And yes, that's it. Nothing else to do. Okay, I think, all these 6 different questions are helpful, but please feel free to leave any comments, and I will see you in another video. Thank you.